Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at and exploring GreenShift's premium chart add-on. Okay, to get started, we gotta check if we even have the chart add-on. So on our dashboard, let's just head over to GreenShift and make sure that you have your licenses in order because it's something that you have to pay for. So over here on the left-hand sidebar of GreenShift, you have add-ons. Just click on that. And you can see that we have active licenses over here and some of the add-ons installed. If it's not installed, it's just going to say, well, or if we don't have the license for it, we're going to have to go to our license manager and manage it from there. And now we have to install it. Now, if it's not installed, it's going to say not installed, and we'll have to go ahead and just click on install. But as you can see for the chart one, it is installed. So now let's go ahead and explore this add-on. It's based on Apex Chart, so if you want to mess with any further settings there, like custom JavaScript, head over to the documentation in that. For this, we're going to show you how GreenShift integrates it into the editor. So let's go ahead and create a brand new blank page, and let's call it something like a GreenShift Chart Add-on test. So first off, let's head over to our block inserter here and look for chart, and it's going to appear as a chart element. Now, here we have it on our workspace here. Now, if you click on this, we have a whole host of different settings to choose from. So here we have our general settings, such as what tag to use and what kind of content it is. We'll just leave that on default. We have our chart settings here. So we have the title, types, and presets. We can link CSV files, which is why we have some Google Sheets tabs opened. And we'll take a look at that. Local styles, animation, if you have the animation add-on, interaction layers, extra options, so we can enable the tooltip, mouse move effects, to make it look really interesting, dynamic indexer, dynamic attributes, anchors, custom JavaScript if you need to use that, and visibility settings, and we can filter out the users based on that. Oh, well, and our advanced additional CSS classes. So first, let's take a look at the meat of this. And because we have a bunch of different presets, let's take a look at some of them. So let's go ahead and initialize chart data. Okay. And we have, we can add a chart title over here. So let's say, and there you go. It's popping right up. And we have different ones over here. And you see it's going to clear the chart title over here. So that's the area chart. We have dark area chart. Okay. And smooth area chart, negative area chart, column chart. I think there's like 20 different presets here. So I think this is the column chart, bar chart with labels. Okay. 100% stack bar. Again, it's really going to depend on what you need for your purposes, and you're just going to have to go ahead and choose which one suits your needs, right? So this one's really cool. It's a mixed chart that has both line and bars on it. Range area chart, very, very cool. Pie chart, very basic kind of stuff. Doughnut, it's the same thing, but donut shape, yummy. Gradient donut chart, the same thing, but prettier. Radar chart, very useful. Multiple radial chart. Tree map. Yeah, kind of like the stock market ones. Slope chart. All right. candlestick chart. Very nice. And polar area chart. And last but not least, the scatter chart. Okay. And we can change again what kind of chart it is from here. But as you can see, the data won't display properly because we had a preset over here. And what the preset gives us is, well, this, and it also gives us these, right? So if I wanted to use a certain chart, let's say, well, let's go with the mixed one, right? Because it gives us two different kinds of data over here. You can see website blog is the series name here. And we have a series name over here. And we can just go ahead and manually input these. We can change the values. So this is 30, somewhere in here. You can see it's changing over here. And we can also move it up and down. We can also just remove it completely. We can also add a new series and, put that over here. And it may or may not display just because of which chart type we're using. All right. Okay, and okay, let's go ahead and go back to a simple one. And you can see, depending on which chart you use, we have different kinds of tools here. So we can either zoom in, right? And you can see the range kind of changes. And again, it depends how much you need to zoom in or zoom out, depending on what kind of series you have. We can do like selection zoom on here. We can also move left to right. Oops, left to right. But it may or may not work on your on the back end, right? So I'm trying to use this, but it's just making me move the entire block over, and then we can just home it to zero it back out. And over here, a very cool feature. We can download the whole chart as an SVG, as a PNG, excuse me, or a CSV if ever you needed to do that. So we can also set the breakpoint and height for maximum height for mobile devices. And we can also add a watermark, and this is going to be a URL to put a watermark to the back of this, behind it. Just so that when people download your chart, it's going to be it's going to have your branding on it. Okay, and class for the download button itself. And everything else, we don't really have to mess with for the moment. What's important is CSV link to chart data to use dynamic data from external sources in order to populate our chart over here. So you can see we can either use just like any CSV link, but in the example, especially in the documentation, it has Google Sheets, right? So we have three different chart types. Type 1 is rows to series, 2 is columns to series, and then 3 is simple label value pairs. And we're going to take a look at each one of those. Okay, so for the first one, you can see here, oops, let's go ahead and edit that. This is the type 1 chart. Now, the type 1 chart has the first column will be the name of the series, and the first row will be the horizontal labels. And before you go ahead and try to use this on the GreenShift chart element, we have to make sure that under our sharing settings, it can be anyone can view, so it's public, and we can just set it to viewer. So we don't have to give access to be a commenter or an editor. Just viewers is fine. We'll just copy the link, okay, and then paste it in here, and then we're going to set it to chart 1. we have to click on Fetch Data, and let's go ahead and use it in chart. And you can see that the data now applies. Okay, so we can also enable dynamic loading. So the chart data will automatically load from the URL. So if you make changes, it should update live. So let's enable that. And again, let's go ahead and see what each one of these does. So we have the countries down here as our horizontal labels. Let's go ahead and add another one, right? So okay, and let's add another one over here. Let's say, let's wait for that to save over here. Okay, it's saved. And now let's fetch the data again and watch the changes in the chart. You can see everything is so much more different now because the values that we put on here for Rhodesia are extremely high. So let's turn those down. Let's turn those down a bit, all right? Because these are double-digit numbers. It's my mistake to have done that. Okay, let's wait for that to save. Let's fetch the data again, and you can see Rhodesia is added over here, and we have 84 over there. And you can see that we have the spike here, the trend, which is Rhodesia, right? And we can enable or disable these, right, in the view, and you can also zoom in, and you can see we have the different views, especially when we zoom in and out. And again, we can't use the panning hand since we're in the back end right now. So what other kinds of charts can we use this for? So let's go ahead, a heading on top of this, and we'll call this type 1 charts. And let's go ahead and duplicate this, right? So this will be the second one with the same data. But for the preset, let's go ahead and use negative area chart. And let's see if this will work. Okay, there you go. Maybe a bit prettier, we'll use a different kind of area chart over here. Oops, not this one. Let's try that. Using chart. Oops. Let's go and publish this and reload. Sometimes this happens. Okay, turns out we completely broke that. So let's just duplicate this again and just change this preset to area chart and fetch data and use it in the chart. And you can see we have a completely different chart now. This looks much prettier, I think, than this one does. But you can see it displays basically the same kind of data. So now let's take a look at, well, let's add another heading down here. And we'll call it type 2 charts. And let's go ahead and add in another chart element. And let's take a look at what we'll be using. So for the next one, it's going to be the bars and radars. So bar chart with labels. And let's initialize chart data. Okay, just so we can see how it looks like, and that looks good. And you can see here, columns to series. So type 2 chart is the first column will be the horizontal labels. So let's go ahead and again, check that it is shared with anyone with a link and that they are a viewer, bare minimum. And let's copy the link and insert that over here, fetch the data, and let's use this in the chart and see what happens. Okay, and then now you can see that everything is now different. So our top horizontal label here, the first was taken from the first columns. You can see the make is over here, Toyota, Honda, Nissan over here, and we have our numbers over here. And now we can go ahead and change the title over here. We have the series name over here, and you can see it's automatically taken from whatever this is. So if we were to change the chart preset, let's say horizontal bar chart, let's initialize that and then see what happens when we fetch data and then use it in our chart. Okay, you can see that the title doesn't come out, and that's just the way that this preset is. So let's go ahead and make this okay, there you go. And you can see that we can manually add a data point, but there's no reason to do that when we could just go ahead and add in. Okay, and wait for that to save. Let's go ahead and fetch the data and use it in our chart. And you can see it's so much more different now. So let's go ahead and duplicate this and then see how this looks like as a radar chart. Now you'll just have to experiment with what kind of things you'll be needing. Okay, radar chart, initialize chart data. Okay, and let's go ahead and fetch data and then use it in our chart. There you go. It's a bit askew. So let's put this down to a more conservative number. Fetch data and then use it in the chart. Okay, fetch data and use it in a chart just so that things are fair and equal. There you go. And finally, let's go ahead and try out chart type number 3. Well, CSV data type number 3. So let's put that over here. We call it type 3 charts. Okay, and then chart element, put that down here. And you can see here we have just simple left and right 2 columns. One data is over here, one set of data is over here, other set of data is over here. So let's go ahead and turn this into a simple pie chart. Pie chart, okay. Initialize the data just so we can see. And let's go ahead and do the same thing over here, share. And oops, anyone with link is a viewer, copy link, paste that into here. And we're gonna have to take in to account that it is a chart type number 3. Fetch the data and then use it in the chart. And you can see how different this all goes. And we can, again, select these, take a look at how this looks like. And we can, again, change up which one is which, right? So what kind of pie chart is it? It's a tree map. Actually, I think we can try to turn the tree map. Let's see if that works. Fetch data, use it in chart. Oops, apparently that doesn't work. That's one way of finding out, hey. So again, let's just go ahead and go with a simple pie chart over here. Initial chart data, just so we can see it makes it work. Turn to type 3, fetch data, and then use it in the chart. Now let's duplicate this and then turn this bottom one into a gradient donut one. Wonder, okay. And fetch data and use it in chart. And there you go. one thing I forgot to do was to show you how this changes. So again, we have these countries over here, and you can see that Czechoslovakia is last just because we have it here last. So again, let's add that on there, save it, and take a look at how these look like now. And you can see it has added Rhodesia over there. Fetch data, and then use it in the chart, and you can see that Rhodesia is added over here, and it is added now to our chart area. Now for local styles, you can see we can change some things here, but they're not necessarily, probably over here would be a better one. Something may or may not occur, but it's mainly just with hovering over it, like with the size, alignment, and these types of things. We can display or not display it. As you could see, again, you'll just have to play with what you need here. These are just basic settings. And that should be it for this. So let's go ahead and click on Save. And let's take a look at how these work on the front end, because again, we couldn't do some of the things that we were doing earlier. So let's view this on our live site. You can see we have our headings over here, and now our data is loaded. Now you see we have our tooltips over here, and it's so much easier to use compared to as if we were editing it. So again, it's just best practice to go back and forth between your front end and your back end, because some features just won't be there. So again, we can zoom in, right? We can pan, right? So we can go left to right. You can see 84 over here and 72 where it starts, right? Similarly, we can zoom in a bit more, and then we can pan year by year. We can just home it, or in the end, we can just download the chart itself. Similar with this is that we have, we can zoom in and out with our scroll wheel, or we can use the panning button and then move it left to right, or zoom in year by year, or just home it. And then similar with these, we'll have the tooltips over here. So as you can see, once we, over here, we had our label here. Oops. Over here, series name, and we had that over here. Since we couldn't see it earlier, oops, we now have it over here. So this is where the units per 100K are now displayed. And see, it's very helpful because it gives you the exact number and makes it very interactive and very responsive. Similar to this one, fortunately, we don't have any zoom features for this. And then our pie chart here, you can see, since this one's so small, we can't even see the percentages over here. You can probably change the ratios if you wanted to, but you can see we have full control of which ones we want to highlight or display, right? So if we're gonna hover over the names over here, it shows us which one it is. Alternatively, if we wanted to look at the data separately, like what are these big ones, that's what they'd be. And then similarly with this, since it doesn't actually give us the percentages on there, we would have to look at it from here, or again, from here. Probably like a two-step process for this one, since let's say we wanted to view this small purple one, which is United States. Okay, what's that one? United States. And we'd have to hover over here, right? Okay, so that concludes our little exploration into how to use the GreenShift Chart Add-on and GreenShift Chart Element. So if you found this video helpful, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe to our channel, as it really helps us out with the YouTube algorithm. Show this kind of video to other WordPress nerds like us. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. Hey, If you found this video helpful, be sure to check out one of our other videos, or go ahead and check out our channel and subscribe to see more content like this.